Hello everyone. We are going to make today a pocketed cover. This is a pocket. Let me pull it off of there. It's a pocketed cover for a signature, and these signatures are not sewn in yet, but they're going to be sewn in. That is traveler's notebook size. And down the road in another video, I'm going to be making a cover to put all of these pocket signatures in. So I made these on the live stream recently. I have been playing with them. I'm just in love with this style. And if you're not familiar with Jean Peter Artist, I will make sure to put a link in the description box down below. This is kind of her style, and it was her video that inspired these. So we're going to get busy, and we're going to make one of these signatures, and I'll show you how to sew this up. And like I said, I'm going to make a couple more, and then we're going to make a cover that goes over all four of them. If you want the circles, you have to pre-punch, and this is a really awesome way to use up your scraps. You're going to pre-punch a whole bunch of scrap circles. If you want the squares, rectangles, this kind, you're going to pre-punch a bunch of this. Now what you want is the lighter weight paper out of your scrap bin. I have painty paper, I have magazine images, I have all kinds of things like that. And I just cut them up like that. This happens to be a magazine image that's got some great papers on it. And I'm just going to cut this up so that we can use it. And what I did was I went through my scrap bin, scrapbook paper, magazine paper, painty paper, any of those things will work beautifully. The thing is, you don't want anything that's too heavy. If it's cardstock weight, it's going to be too hard to work with. So I recommend you get a whole, and these are all the same size, but most of my scraps are scraps. Okay, we're just going to set those aside. Then the next thing you need is 2 envelopes with their flaps. So you want 2 pretty good envelopes. And the thing of it is that you want your envelopes to be pretty much all the same size. These happen to be bill return envelopes. Therefore, they're all pretty much the same size. Now, they may have different flap edges, but that's okay. But you need ones that are intact. Now, you can use brand new envelopes, but these work great. And they come into your house for free. So I have one that has got the circle started, and that's the one we're going to finish, but I'm going to show you how to get this started. We're going to get out our little batch of our rectangular papers. And we're going to take a glue stick. Now we're working on the inside, and one of the things I don't like to have happen on the inside, oh heavens, of my envelopes is to have the glue go over too much. So I am going to use a scrap over here, and I'm just gonna do this. Now, I don't butt them right together. I leave myself a little tiny bit of space because we are going to have to fold it. Oops. Figures that because I touched it, it's going to... And it's good to have different sizes and different shapes. And if this were the circle one, I haven't put the circles down the center yet. I'll do that for you next. I like to use a mixture of the types of paper, but again, it's all paperweight. It's not... Well, let's get out one of our little magazine images. That'll be perfect for the top, I think. Well, maybe let's use it down here at the bottom. Now all we really need to do is just make sure that our two pieces are glued together. Okay. Making sure that these are very well stuck down is helpful. And then we're gonna cut off any extra down here. Now, if I was going to do the circles, I would do exactly the same thing with all of these lovely little circles that I have. And the idea behind this is that we want to have a couple of layers of paper, one on the front, one on the back for this seam, because this is where we're going to sew our signature together. Oops, lots of glue on the table there. Unfortunately, when it starts to get warm, my glue sticks start to get very soft. Oh, that's kind of big. It's kind of dark. Let's see what we can get. That's not going to work. Let's do this one. That'll work. Now, as I said, when you get some that comes over the edge, you just want to take your scissors and cut it off. Like so. Okay. Then what we're going to do, as you can see here, is we're going to turn this over. This is our square one. We'll turn it over, and we are going to cover this entire piece, including the flaps, with our little squares. And since we're going to do that, I'm going to cheat and use up this glue that gets left in my glue stick, because it's a good time to use this up. Okay, we're going to set this aside for just a minute and let it get a little bit dry while we wipe up our surface and pick up our papers just a little bit. I just have a damp rag here, and we just want to clean the glue up a little bit. So see, that was a fabulous use for a whole bunch of our scrap papers. And we're going to be using more of those for its cover. Like I said, these were just papers out of my scrap bin that I cut into rectangular shapes or circles. Now, if I was doing my circle one, oops, that's wet. I would do exactly the same thing. I would just simply take my glue stick or my glue and make sure that I covered up all my little spots. And I'm going to either use my palette knife or I'm going to use a credit card or something to make sure that these are all glued down very well. Oh, that's a purple one. We don't want another purple one. Right there. Until I cover this entire piece of paper. Okay? So I'm not going to make you sit and watch me do that, but I will be doing it in the next day or two. And then once we get that part done, because we have all of these little edges that we really want to decorate around, we're going to Mod Podge our piece. And it just really helps to keep all these little edges down. And so what we are going to do is we're just going to take our Mod Podge and glue mixture, and I will try to link right up there the video where I make this. It is a mixture of half Mod Podge and half Elmer's Glue All. And I really like the mixture. It tends to be not quite so sticky as Mod Podge. When Mod Podge dries, it has a tendency to stick to itself, which I really don't like. And this seems to be a lot better. So we're just going to, oh my. Now whatever that was, right there, it was not a water salt. It wasn't a permanent. It wasn't permanent, so I'm going to try to lift it a little bit. That is one reason why I do not like non-permanent media. I'm guessing it was some kind of marker or crayon that, okay, that's, but once we get this Mod Podge on here, we're going to have to let it dry. And you notice I covered up all the flaps. We'll trim them off later. I covered up all the little edges real well. That means they'll stay stuck down. And now we're going to let it get dry. Okay. So we'll see you back here in a little while. Okay, so we have finished both of our pieces. We have our inside basically done there in the corners, in the edges, and we have finished the outside. Now what we need to do is we need to trim all this little extra stuff off that is hanging over. And I just find it easier to leave it on there and then come back rather than trying to make it fit exactly. This is just such a great use for those envelopes that come in the mail and you're not using them, so they're going to end up in the recycle bin. And now we're going to use them for our project. Okay, now we wouldn't have to cover this in here, but here's the thing. We're going to be using this envelope, and this has still got the sticky on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of our scrap paper from our scrap paper bin. Easier if I do it this way. We're going to make this just a hair smaller than the envelope. Is it going to fit? Yes, okay. Now this piece is big enough that we can do both sides, so that's what we're going to do. Just going to make sure it slides into there. Yes, it does. And this one will slide into this way. Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do is, and I'm going to use my art glitter glue, and I'm going to just put a little bit right there, so that when I slide it into the envelope, it's going to stick inside and not pull up. And I'm going to slide it in until it just covers up the flap right here. Okay. Now, when I open this up, I can go back in and put a little bit more glue along the fold line and right here along this edge. And we're going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. just noticed it looks like there's a little tiny corner right here that is not stuck on the front paper. So we'll just stick it down. Now I would do that exactly the same way with my paper that is got the circles. Everything about it is the same. It just, one has circles and one has little squares. I'm going to come back and okay, so now we're going to decorate. That did not fold right. There we go. For some reason it didn't fold at the envelope spot. There we go. Okay. All right, so now we have our cover piece, our signature cover, but it's not decorated. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our Stabilo pencil and our water brush. We'll be using some Posca pens, lots of Posca pens. Now I mostly use black and white ones. I also love these this white, Sigma ball pen, and so I'll be using that. But we're just going to start by outlining everything with our Stabilo. And I am not going to make you watch this whole thing, but I am going to sit here for a while and work on it. This is something I like to do while I'm watching videos, YouTube videos, things like that. I like to sit and doodle on these. Now, one thing about the Stabilos is that they will write over the Mod Podge without any trouble whatsoever. And if you get them fully wet, they are permanent. Now, you do want to make sure that you get them fully wet. Okay, I'm gonna bring it in really close and show you a couple things, and then I'm gonna stop the video for right now, and I'll pick this up later. Let me just, come on. Okay, frankly, to get an entire piece done like this takes a couple hours. It's not something I do in one sitting. Needless to say, you do the circles exactly the same way. I'll be working on this one too. I'm going to go off and I'll do these over the next couple of days, and I'll come back and finish this video, frankly. To sit and just do this, it wears on my back, and sometimes you have to look at it a few times and think about it. Plus you have to let the black and the white dry in between. So this is our end goal, is to have it look kind of like this. And you can see where it's headed. And I will be back to finish up and show you how to finish up the signatures and sew in our papers, doing the inside and the outside. Now, I did decorate the inside piece. These are the flaps. So when you're decorating this part, you're decorating the flaps at the same time. This is really good project for sitting and watching videos, that kind of thing. So that's what I'm going to go do. Actually, I have some work I have to do for a little while. And when I have these two covers finished and ready to go to the next step, I'll be back and we'll finish this video up. Okay, guys. Okay, so I finished all of the decorating on this one. I have not quite finished the fourth one, and I will get to that, but I wanted to come back and show you the last couple of steps on the actual folio pieces. And then when I get all 4 of them done, I will make a separate video. So this is just how to make this, the single folio signature, which is Traveler's Notebook size roughly, up. And then we will make a cover that will hold all 4 of them together, which I think is going to be a really fun little journal. But right now what I want to do is I want to show you how to make this piece right here, so that you have, come on, undo. You have a string tab that will hold the pocket closed. Okay? Okay, so that's the next step, is to get those little doodads on here. And what we're going to use for that is some cardstock. Now, it's not near heavy enough like this, but it's pretty heavy. So what we're going to do is I am going to use a little, this is roughly a 5/8 inch hole punch. And I'm going to punch out a whole bunch of circles, because we need like 8 for each side, 8 or 9, 10 for each side, something like that. We're going to make a nice thick little piece. And it's best if you cut the pieces out ahead of time. If you glue them all together and then try to punch them with this, it's almost impossible to punch it. Okay, that may not be enough. We'll punch one more. Remember that we have to have enough to make both pieces here. And we have to reinforce our envelope. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to glue together 3 of these. Like so. And I'm actually going to do that several times. I have to have 4 that are all glued together for this envelope. And I'm doing 3 layers. I am using art glitter glue. It dries very clear. It dries strong. I can get just a tiny little bit on my circle. Did that? That was weird. Oh, don't have enough. See, I told you that it takes quite a lot of these. Okay, so now we have some extra pieces, and actually that's still not enough. I'll count here just a minute and tell you how many you need for each spot. How's that? Okay, this is 3, and we're going to need 2 more to reinforce where we put this one. So for each little one of these, we need 5. So that meant I should have punched 20 in the first place. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out our little tiny itty bitty hole punch. It's a 16th inch hole punch. You can use your pokey tool or an awl or something like that if you want. This is just a little tiny 16th inch hole punch. And I'm going to punch a hole through each one of these that I glued together, the 3 layers. Okay. Then, itchy eye, I need brads, which I should have gotten out ahead of time. And I'm just going to pull all these brads out. These are different colors in here, so I want to pull them out so that I have all the same color. And I'm going to need 4. Right? 4? Yes, 4. For right now. All right. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take one of our little circles and we're going to glue it right to the back of the flap where I am going to put my hole through to put my brad through. And this isn't as important where I have multiple layers of paper, but it's very important down in here. So I'm going to glue that on there. I'm going to punch my hole to put my brad in. I'm going to take my little piece and my brad. I'm going to stick that through there, stick it through the hole. And I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to open up this brad. This little piece reinforces it some, but then we're going to take it and we're going to cover it up so that the brad doesn't bite us. I hate putting my fingers down into the envelope and having the brad poke under my fingernail. So we're going to just do it like that. And we're just going to hold it down. Now, we need to do the same thing in here. And so that you can see where I'm going to put my hole and everything, I'm just going to put a little dot. And I'm not measuring. If you want to, you can measure. I'm just, well, that works. If I put this where I want it, I can put a dot right through the middle of my little piece. How about that? So now I have a little dot. Oh, let's bring you in some. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on this on one of these single ones. And once again, I'm going to reach in here and I'm going to put it right behind that little dot. Okay. I didn't do a very good job of getting it centered, but that's okay. Then I'm going to take one of these, one of my brads. I'm going to go through there and open it up. Now I'm going to take another one of the single. I'll do this again on the other side. And I'll put it on the back of my brad and stick it down. I just started putting the extra piece in here. I found that the envelope, especially down in here, is not as strong as I would like it to be, and therefore my brad did not want to, it wanted to pull through, and I don't want that happening. So oh my goodness. Well, I guess we better put another one on there. That's not good. Sorry guys, I got it off centered, I guess, and then punched my hole off center probably. There we go. That first piece of cardstock inside is to keep the brad from pulling back through your paper. The second piece of cardstock is to cover up the little pokey things that you opened up to keep you from getting poked by the brad. So I have to punch that hole twice because I punched it before I put the little piece of cardstock back there. Not a big deal. Might be easier to center your cardstock that way. Now you can see down in there, I've got that little piece of cardstock protecting my inside of my paper. And then I'm going to open the brad. And then I'm going to take one more little piece of cardstock and cover up the brad. Like so. And that doesn't make me exactly happy right there, but I'm not going to fight with it. Okay, so now we have to have strings to keep it closed. And then that one will be all done except for putting paper inside. You need string for keeping them closed. And I have been using my little scraps of wax linen. This is just wax linen scraps that when I've bound a book, it's leftovers. So I can just take hold of it, put it around this one. Let's bring it to the middle. Now I've been leaving 2 strands and just tying a little knot in it just because I think it looks cuter. It wouldn't have to have 2 strands. I just think it kind of looks cute with it 2-stranded. And then you just come in, tie it together. I'm going to do that on the other side. Another little scrap. With wax linen, and as pricey as it is, I don't throw away my little pieces. I save them to use them. That one may be a bit long. You might want to cut a little of it off. Okay, so the last part of putting our little folios together is to put our paper in it. And I have just got copy paper. Let's see, how many sheets did I cut? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks like 11. 11 sheets. 11 or 12 sheets is about all you want. Okay, and I've cut it just, oh, that would help if you could see. Here we go. It is just a touch shorter, top and bottom, and just a touch narrower to the side, so that when you close it up, it stays all inside. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to take my centering ruler. I'm going to take my little pokey punch. I like to protect my work surface with my old telephone book. And I need to cut some wax linen for this. So I'm going to measure 1 length, 2 lengths. 3 lengths is a little more than you need, but you don't like, it's very hard if it's too short. It is much easier to have too much than not enough. So I'm going to cut about 2 3/4 lengths. And then I need a nice needle. If you get your needle threaded up before you start poking holes, it's a little easier because you don't have to let go of things. Most of the time I forget. And I keep saying I'm going to clean this needle and get the wax out of this needle, and I keep forgetting. The buildup on the needle is what's causing the problem. The needle has gotten quite waxy. Okay, so my needle and my cord is ready. I'm going to make sure this is all centered. I'm going to measure it. And I'm going to measure the paper. It's 8.5 inches tall. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put a mark right in the center. And then I'm just going to do a standard, no, I'm not. I'm going to do a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. I will like it better if it's got a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. It'll be a little bit sturdier in there, and it'll just make me a little happier. So I am going to put one at the center, one at 2, and a hole at just about 4 1/4 is the edge. So I think I'm going to just bring it in about 3/8 of an inch from the edge. So they're not quite even, because at even these 2 outside ones would be just a little further out, but this way it's just a little bit snugger in there. And then many people like to use clamps to hold things in. I just hold it with my hand, and that works for me. So you have to use the tools that work for you. You want to make sure to punch straight down through the crease and through the outside crease of your envelopes. And this has got a lot of papers built up in it. It's going to be a little bit hard to push through. So do be careful, don't poke your fingers. Now I'm going to turn it around to hold the other way. And when I do that, I am going to make sure that I didn't move things this time, because I felt it shift in my hand, and I don't want to have it off that much. So I wanted to be sure I got it lined back up. Okay. Move the book out of the way. And I'm going to go out through the center, leaving myself a couple inches of cord. I'm going to go back in. I let go of it to make it easier for you to see. Through the next one up. And then back out through this one. And what happens is that then I'm going to come back in through the one that I just did. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing, going the other way. Do be careful not to pierce your cording when you're doing this. Okay, now we're going to snug everything up. We're going to make sure that everything is pulled nice and tight, which it is not at the moment. Okay. And see, there's a line of cord on the outside, there's a line of cord on the inside, and they're all nice and snug. Now I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to pass it underneath that cord right there. And now I can tie the knot in this. Wax linen doesn't come on. Wax cord is much better about not coming undone. I'm just going to pass these under there like that. And then clip them loose. Clip them off. That just gives them, they're less in the way if you clip them off, and if you tuck them under there, then they just seem to stay better. So now we have finished our little signature, which has its little envelope pockets. Okay, so I am going to be making 4 of these little signatures, and then in the next video I will show you how I make a cover to put all 4 of these signatures into. Okay, so I will have 4 signatures with paper inside with the little envelope things. They're all pretty much the same size. I just have not finished this one. So that is how I am making my little envelope pocket signatures to make our little fun traveler's notebook journal. Let me get my book and read you a quote from our 1001 Ways to Creativity. But the book just has gone off. It went to the other side of the table, I guess. So we're going to read a quote from this book. Art is not what you see, but what you make others see. Edgar Degas. Well, that is, I like that. Art is not what you see, but what you make others see. Okay, that's a really interesting quote. Anyways, guys, go have fun. Make some art. Bye-bye.